Hey there, it's me, Lottie, and I've really been in the spirit of Earth Day, and I wanted to share a few thoughts around my composting journey. That is an area that over the years I have been working on to make more of a natural part of my day-to-day routine. And it hasn't always been easy. It requires a bit of forethought. When I started composting, I just was saving my vegetable scraps in a large Ziploc bag, and I would put them in the freezer. And I had a neighborhood school that had a school garden that had a composter, like a crank turny thing. And I would take my Ziploc bag of frozen peels and cores and skins and what have you, and take it and dump it in their compost. That literally was my first effort at composting. And it's a nice way to establish a relationship with your community garden and begin to kind of learn about the composting process. Now, since then, I have moved on to an outdoor gardening situation of my own, and I have a compost bin outside. Now, my compost bin, me and a bunch of my friends got together and built this compost bin, and I don't think I realized how large it was from the blueprints because this is a little bigger than my needs, but it's just fine. It works just fine, and it just doesn't have to be that big. But today what I'm going to share with you is just how I handle my scraps from the house to the compost bin. Everybody doesn't have an outdoor compost bin situation. Like I said, there are different ways to handle your scraps once you collect them. But this is how I get them from my cooking to outside. I know there's a lot of different compost options out there, but I'm gonna show you mine. I know it's dirty because it's been outside here for a minute, but it's just a food grade 5-gallon bucket with a lid. I got it from, I don't know, Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever. Just want to make sure it's food grade. And for me, since I'm just not making a lot of trash, I dump this maybe 4 times a year because it's so big. I keep it next to my trash and I put all my food scraps in it, and then I take them outside and put them in the compost bin. Now this is my compost bin, and yes, she is extra. I didn't have a good gauge for measurements because I ended up with something big as a boat. It's got 3 bins, 1, 2, 3. And theoretically, you would fill up one, and then when it starts to break down, move it into the second one for further breaking down while you start this one again. And then after that one further breaks down, you could put it in the third one, even with a screen to like strain it into fine compost. I never have filled up the first one. I do throw the stuff over into the second one sometimes, but this is really huge. I could have probably gone with a much smaller system, but that's okay. I love it. I love it because it has such a story behind it. This was built by my friends, and I love my compost bin. So what I decided to do today, I wanted to do some research on how much it would cost, and now I'm able to offer an option. Now the food grade container, this was at Ace Hardware. You may be able to find them cheaper. The food grade container 5-gallon tub with a lid came to about $13. It was $8 for the bucket and $5 for the lid. Next to it, we have a 2-gallon bucket and a lid, and it's a paint bucket. However, It is a number 2 plastic, which is food safe. And this whole situation came to $8. So I got it anyway because, you know, maybe it's time for me to try a smaller version. But now I can show you how I set it up. So this is my little compost situation. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. I've been doing this for years, so I know that it works. So then you're just gonna put your garbage in there. If you're squeamish about garbage, food scraps, then you may want to fast forward through this part. This is a bowl of food scraps I've been gathering. I have my coffee grounds here. We have zucchini that had seen better days. We have our parchment paper from when I was baking the other day, and all this can just go straight into the compost bucket. Once you have your basket, the key to compost not smelling is, for me, I found as a coffee drinker, coffee grounds work. So this is where my coffee grounds come in, and every day after I make my French press, I put my coffee grounds right over the top of the compost. And then once I pour my coffee over top, you put your top on here. I keep it right by the trash, or you could keep this, you know, under the sink or wherever, and there you go. I had to get a smaller compost bucket so my helpers would be able to help me. So that was my simple compost solution. Like I showed, I use a 2-gallon bucket. I've also used the 5-gallon bucket in the past, and it's kind of just a matter of preference and how much food waste you produce, how many people are in your household. I kind of like the 5-gallon bucket for myself because I only have to empty that about 4 times a year. That may sound crazy, but yeah. The 2-gallon bucket, I'm finding that I'm emptying, you know, every month or so. We'll see. We'll see. I'm just now trying out the 2-gallon version. And again, try to strike up a relationship with a local gardener or an urban farm or a school or someplace that has a compost bin if you don't have your own. And I'm sure they'll welcome your scraps. And it's an opportunity to develop that relationship. So until I see you in the next video, I want to wish you a happy, happy Earth Day. Hope you spend some time in thought and gratitude around this wonderful planet that we are on right now. And I'd love to know what your green goals are. How can you pick one thing to green up or to just be a bit more conscious about where your dollars go, starting to make that investment in yourself, in the planet? So I'd love to hear about your efforts. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat below. And we're doing more of this over on our Patreon. So if you feel like you want to join with a community of folks that is growing around living lightly on the planet and supporting community-based herbalism and learning just how to be sacred out in nature, we'd love to have you over there. Thank you to everyone who is a patron. You all really, really motivate me and make these videos possible. So I sincerely appreciate you all. And until I see you in the next video, take care.